I don't know. Oh.
Okay, so
I think it's more like how much you could make it. It shows like the value. How much you. Yeah.
so we are recording now. You can access the live stream. I just put it on Slack. Okay, so who remembers variables from their JavaScript workshop? Alright, late people. Okay, cool. We're just gonna revisit that today, and hopefully in a little bit more depth. Again, I encourage you to read the lesson before coming to class. It's gonna give you a lot more context, and when you come to class, the stuff that you didn't get, for instance, is gonna start to click, and like that's something that you don't even have to do consciously. Your brain will start to remember stuff that you read about, and now as you see it in class, it helps you make sense. Okay, so we're gonna learn about variables. So actually, so some people, you saw variables, you remember variables. What do you remember? You can use a variable to set a value to something, okay? Yeah, we're gonna expand that. Malik? A few different ways to define a variable. Yes, that's the right language. Giselle? Let can be reassigned a different value, and in const, once you give it a value, that's it. That stands for constant, right? It cannot change. Okay, cool. So let's dive right in. So far, we have been writing expressions in JavaScript, but we're not doing anything with those expressions yet. Like, we're not saving the value, we're not accessing the value later, and that is in fact what variables are going to allow us to do. Okay, so let's revisit that for a second. I'm going to open Node. It doesn't matter where you are in the terminal. Yes, Carl.
Why don't we just start?
Say that again?
Why don't we just, we need Node so they can read. Why don't we just start?
Why don't we get started?
Starting.
Oh, because that's, I think if I understand you correctly, why when I open the terminal, we're not already in Node?
Why don't we start off with Node? When we open Node and then start writing, why do we need to go?
Oh, because Node, Node is not an application that I have in here, like here, right? So Node is not something I can open from outside the terminal. Yeah. So yeah, you could kind of say that Node lives in the terminal. Well, we install Node in the terminal. Okay, so we just solved. Now I'm in Node. Now I can type JavaScript because my computer without Node, it doesn't understand any JavaScript. So what are some example expressions? Maybe some of the ones that we saw in the assignment we just went over. Douglas?
1 plus 1.
Right, the simplest of expressions, 1 plus 1. What is this going to evaluate to? 2, right? And then that 2 is just gone. Like it doesn't exist anymore. If I want to have it back, I have to repeat the expression. Right. So what we want is to save that 2 somewhere. That's what variables are going to be used for. And we can think of variables as a box. I don't remember. Let's see. Here, this was the lecture on variables. And a good analogy for a variable is just a label box that you say, this is box X, And inside, I'm going to put the number 22. All right, so let's go back to Node. Now, we're going to learn about the, to me, most useful expression and function in JavaScript, which is called the console.log. Console.log, who can tell me what console.log does? So let's do something like console 1 plus 2 plus 1. What do we see here? Peter? Right. It makes it allows you to see what, for instance, in this case, this expression is giving you back. And I guess we could have said, well, it gave me 2, and then undefined. Before it was just giving me the 2, and I could still see the 2. But in the let's see why that is important. So right now, I'm in Node, and Node will always show me what an expression evaluates to. So here it's going to show me that evaluates to 2. Now we're going to move from Node a little bit in the sense that we're going to write our JavaScript in a file, and then we're going to ask Node to execute that file, to interpret the content of that file. So I'm just going to open up Atom. Actually, let me exit Node. And then since we're in the value, no, so let's go to the variables folder. This is because, again, I am being organized in the sense that I have unit 1 and week 1, and this lesson is in variables, so I just create a folder called variables. You could do this too. Now here, you can see that I was keeping the lesson plan there. And I'm just going to create another file called, let's do first. I'm just going to call it first JavaScript.js. And .js, I'm using .js to remind myself that what I'm going to put inside this file is going to be JavaScript code. Okay, so I created that file, and I'm going to open that with Atom now. Now, Atom sees that that file is .js, and it's going to give me some color as well as we saw, for instance, on the README file for the previous assignment. We saw that some stuff appeared in colors. In this case, that's still going to be the case. Okay, so let's write an expression here. Let's do the simplest of expressions, 1 plus 1, right? And then this is, again, I'm writing JavaScript. It's now that I'm not writing it in the terminal anymore. I'm writing it in a file. So again, this is valid JavaScript. Now save that file. And then go back to
As far as I can like yellow one,
yeah.
Yellow one. I have a asterisk, and my ones are red.
Okay. Let's see. Jar can take a look. I think that should still be fine, unless you have some other stuff in here. Okay. Does everyone have a file? Everyone has a file called first JavaScript. You could call it anything, but in this case, I'm just going with first JavaScript. Yeah.
How come I open it without adding the extension? It just opens it, and even though it's a JavaScript file, it doesn't open it as JavaScript.
So your question is, how does it know that it's a JavaScript file?
Well, like when you open it by only typing in the file and not the extension, it opens it as a regular file, not JavaScript.
Right. Yeah. That's what the extension is for. The extension tells Adam.
So if it's already in JavaScript,
It's still gonna open it, yeah, and it's not gonna show you any colors because it doesn't know that it's JavaScript. Okay, so everyone with me here. Okay, so this is the same stuff that we typed in Node, right? But now we're typing it on a file. So now I'm gonna ask JavaScript to read this file or run it or execute it. We do that with Node and then the name of the file. Now I'm going to hit enter. And I see good question. What does this do? This is saying, Node, please read this file and execute it, run it, evaluate what is inside. So here, I just executed that file, but I didn't see anything back. But we know that JavaScript at some point says 2 because it added 1 plus 1. Now, if I want to see stuff in my terminal or in my console, what I want to do is console.log. So let's see that now. And then I'm gonna leave that 1 plus 1 there. I'm gonna put it here. Now repeat the steps where you execute the file with Node and tell me what you see. Do you have the file like this? Okay, you saved it? Yes, save it. You could save with Command S or Control S. Repeat the step where you ask Node to read that file to execute it. Yeah?
How come your Adam is so special?
I don't need to use what?
The semicolons.
I'm not special. In JavaScript is flexible in that sense. You can use the semicolons or you cannot.
Oh,
It's
like a red dot.
oh, when it doesn't? Okay, let's see. Maybe my program is gonna break because of that. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter here. I'm gonna ask Node to execute first JavaScript.js, and it gives me 2. Yep. No worries. You're getting like a red dot here. Okay, so actually your Adam is special than mine because that is Adam wants you to be a good developer and organized. And in general, it's good practice to have semicolons at the end. And as long as you remember that you either go all the way with semicolons and you put them everywhere, or you don't put them at all. So now that red dot should disappear. See how? This? Oh, to see the 2? Did you save the file? So in Adam, you will see if you don't have it saved, you're gonna see this thing. this blue thing here. You see that blue dot? That's telling you you have unsaved files. Okay, so if I have saved, that dot disappears. Okay. Okay. Now here in the terminal, let's just make sure that we're in the right place. Let's do ls. Let's see that we should see our file. First javascript.js. Do we see the file? Okay. Now again, I'm gonna ask Node to run first javascript.js. I hit enter. Now I see the 2. So as Peter said, console.log is the line of code that is actually making these 2 appear here. It's displaying it. We remember that without that, we didn't see anything popping up in the terminal, or basically our program was not displaying anything to us. Is that clear? Also, let's say I don't want to run this line anymore. Something you could do is at the beginning, you can comment out this line of code by doing prepending 2 slashes, and that tells JavaScript that this is a comment. So let's see what this gave us now. Let's save this file. Let's try to run it again. Right now, the 2 doesn't appear anymore because, well, we made the line that logged the number 2 into a comment. Right, so comments are good for, well, commenting your code. So if in case I forget, I'm gonna say console.log displays the result of anything I put inside the parentheses in the terminal. Right? That's what console.log does. Oh, this should be one more. Yeah. Hover over the line that you see or the dot that you see. Hover over it and it's going to tell you. What does it tell you?
It tells me that I need to skip down to it's kind of messy if I have to.
I think maybe I could take a look because, yeah. Okay, so this is how we can put JavaScript in a file. Now, let's rewrite this in a different way using a variable. So wait, do we have any questions about console.log? Okay. Just to clarify, this line 5, is an expression. And this, we're going to get into these later on. This is a function. And functions are, you could spot them because they have parentheses and we're passing something inside the parentheses. Just remember those two pieces of data.
The function and
Yes, correct. It's an expression that is a function. And rather, it's a function call. We're calling this function. We're calling it with 1 + 1. Okay, so I could also do strings here, right? I could do something like bat plus man, or I could just put it in one. If I don't wanna pass an expression to console.log, I could just do this. Now I go back to my terminal. I ask Node to read, execute, run my program, my file, and it's going to show me what I put inside the console log. So for console.log, here we could pass anything, literally. In fact, I have thought that if you're going to see the usefulness of console.log so much that I have thought that if I learn the console.log of any other language, I could learn that language really quickly. Because console.log is that tool that allows to see stuff in the terminal from within JavaScript. Okay, so let's rewrite this so that we use a variable now. So in here, I said 1 plus 1, right? But I'm kind of repeating myself. I have two places that I have 1 plus 1. So that's one problem. We don't want to repeat ourselves. In fact, there is this, in programming, there is this expression called, or that kind of says, be dry, as in DRY, and that stands for do not repeat yourself. So we want our code to be dry, not to have repetition. That's something that, again, variables are going to help us do. Okay, so let's do, how can we create a variable? Giselle told us that we could use let if we want that to change the content of the variable, or const if we don't want it to change. Let's go ahead and explore the three ways in which we can create a variable. The first one is let. So to create a variable, we just say let, and let is a keyword in JavaScript. I don't have to surround it with quotes or anything like that. JavaScript just knows that this is a special word. Now I'm going to type the name of my variable. So I'm just going to say something like result is equal to, or actually, let's just do this. And right now, result, we could think of result again as a box that is labeled, has the word result on it, but it doesn't have anything inside yet. How do we know that it doesn't have anything inside? Let's see console log, what gives us if we try to do this. We're kind of asking console log, give me whatever you have in result. In this case, result doesn't have anything. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to my terminal and repeat the step. Run node, please run this file. Undefined, I see in my screen. Right? I don't see Batman. I don't see 2. I see undefined. Why do we think that is? People? We have a variable with nothing inside. You said definition, and that brings me to the next point, which is this is called a variable declaration. Again, so that I don't forget, I'm just going to comment next to it. So I declared about a variable called result, and I didn't put anything in it. How can I put something in my variable? How can I put something in my box? I heard equal somewhere, Michael. Right, yes, I could do this. I could do this. And if I save, and I repeat the step where I execute my code, I see 2 now. Right, so in that case, if we do this, result equal 1 plus 1, we are saying we're declaring the variable result, and at the same time, we're assigning the value of 1 plus 1 into it. But we could also do it in a separate line, like so. We declare the variable on line 3. I'm just going to erase this from here. And then we assign the variable on line 4 equal 1 plus 1. That is called variable assignment. So I'm just going to do here the same as before, where I do let result. This is just so that we have we know that these two are the same. So there are two ways in which we could assign a variable or create a variable. The first one is we do the variable declaration first. We ask JavaScript, give me a box, call it result. That's it. On line 4, we said, okay, save whatever this expression evaluates to, save it to result. Or we can do it in one line with result2 equal 1 plus 1. Any questions so far? Michael? Disallow multiple line what? Breaks? I'm not sure. Jared, can you check that? Thank you. Okay. So we learned how to declare and assign a variable. Those are two keywords that we want to remember in the sense of the proper language to say is we declare a variable and we assign a value to it. Okay. So I am just going to comment this out. Now, if I save this and I execute my program again, what am I gonna get? What am I gonna get and where? 2? Right. So what's going on here? Why is it giving me 2? Who could explain? Joanne? Right. I define what my variable is. I save the result of 1 plus 1 into result. And then here, I'm just asking console to go and check what result is and display it back to me. Cool. Any questions, comments? Okay. So we learned about variable declaration. Now let's learn about in the old days of JavaScript, not a few years back, there was another keyword called var, which was replaced later by let. And if we do this, I change let by var, I do it again, and I still receive the same result. This change was introduced for reasons that we're going to explore later. This is just so that you're aware that you could do var or let, but let is generally preferred since it's for reasons that we're going to discuss later. So, okay, so let's copy this line. Let's comment it. I'm gonna move this var was replaced by let. Okay. Now let's see another type of variable that is called constant. Or rather, like if we think about it, if something is constant, it's not really a variable because it cannot vary. And actually that tells me that maybe we should go there first. We should see what happens once we change the value of result. Yeah, let's do that first. Okay, so I'm going to do here. I'm going to copy this line and paste it here. And now, right after that, I'm going to say result is equal to hello now. What do we think is going to happen here? Gerard? Could you say that a little bit louder? It would get overwritten. Result replace. Okay. Yeah. Pupil. Right. First, it's gonna show you 2. Then it's gonna. So this line shows you 2. This line changes the value of result to hello, and then this line 15 shows you hello. Let's run that. Again, note the name of the file, hit enter. Oh, what happened? Why am I still seeing 2? I didn't save, right? I'm gonna do file save. So Node is still reading my old code. It didn't read the new one. Right, now we see 2 and hello. Something important to note here is result first was a number, right? The result of 1 plus 1. And then I reassigned that to be a string. And that is something that we can do in JavaScript. We cannot do that in other languages. So just so that you're aware, a variable can be of any type. So I could also say something like result equal true. Now what's the type? What's the type of result? What if I do something like here, type of, and then I'm gonna do the same here. What is this gonna give me? Peter? So number and Boolean, let's see, let's run our program. Number and Boolean, right? So that, just as a side note, a variable can be of any type, or can hold the value of any type. Any questions so far? How do we feel about this so far? Thumbs up, middle, down. What about the people who's not answering? Right, this type of is gonna look up the type of the operand, which is in this case result. And result in this case is a variable that is holding the value true. Okay. Yep. Now we said as Giselle introduced us to, we have another keyword called const that is for constant stuff that is not going to change. So, yeah, Renee? Why is it still Boolean? Right. That's correct, yes. Okay, so for the next, for const, I'm actually just gonna leave this file as is and create a new one. So I'm just gonna close this file. Now I'm gonna go in my terminal, and I'm gonna create a new one. I'm gonna call it const.js, because in here we're gonna talk about const. I'm gonna open that file with Atom. And then it's an empty file. Okay, everyone has their file? Thumbs up if you have your file. Cool. Okay, so I said one way was let do let string is equal to hello. Rather, let's just leave it empty. Now I'm going to say const number and leave it empty. Actually, let's just do this. Number equal 1. Now let's see. Let's ask JavaScript to display the value of string. How do we do that again? And also, let's ask JavaScript to give us the value of number. Okay, I saved my file. Now I'm going to run it. How do I run my file? Node and then what? File name, what's my file name? Right, why am I seeing undefined and 1 in the terminal? Peter? Okay, I didn't put anything in string. I let it as undefined. That's why I see undefined. Okay, that makes sense. Right, and then it's reading out what number is equal to, and then number is equal to 1. Right. So here we let our constant called number be 1. What happens if I skip this? Say that again. It might be undefined too. Let's try it out. Let's remind ourselves what is const for. What's const for? Dante? A variable that won't change, right? Okay, let's just have that in mind as I run my program. Oh, we got our first error. But always read your errors. You will have. This is your lifesaver. If you don't read your errors, then you don't know what the problem is about. So what is this error telling me? Const number, and then it's a syntax error, missing initializer in const declaration. Pupil? Yeah. That's correct. Const needs to be initialized. It needs to have something inside. It cannot be, I cannot do something like this. Do we remember that I could do right? Because, well, let's try to run it again. I see the same error again. Const is made to receive only one value, only one time. It's not supposed to change. So this is JavaScript telling me, I know that const is only for a constant that is never going to change. So you better save the value, or rather assign the value as you do the declaration of the variable. So that'll be doing number equal 5 here. Who can summarize what we just talked about on const for me? Actually, before we do that, let's just run this. Let's see that the error is no longer there. How do we feel about this? Thumbs up? Cool. So as long as you remember that a const is never supposed to change, you'll be good. But also, let's try this. So we know that it's never supposed to change, but let's try to change it. Let's try to see what JavaScript will do. Number is equal to 7. Now you execute that and you tell me what you see. Who ran it? People, what did you see?
It has an error. Arrow.
So does everyone see that? You see an error, right? Should be this error. Oh, sorry. And it has this, I don't know what you call that, but it's pointing to the equal sign, and it says type error assignment to const variable. Right? That is, again, JavaScript complaining. You cannot reassign the value 7 into number because JavaScript is saying I already have the number 5 in the variable number. Okay, Peter?
What if your const is like a function problem to variables that change that have the const change?
Could you give me an example that I can type here?
So like, where it define let, I mean, through the define string.
Okay.
And then you were make const like string plus 5.
Like that?
Yeah, but in the next part.
In this? So you mean remove this line,
Yeah, and then make it like
string plus 5, like that?
right now when you change string here, you just change it will affect will let const change it.
Something like that? That's it. What are we seeing here? Why do we see this? Susan? He didn't add the 5 to the dog. It says, oh wait. But it says, right, how could we summarize that, people? Right, did everyone get that? Because we changed string to dog here. That's why we see this dog first. So this is gonna console log dog. Oh, sorry, dog, yes. And then why do we see cat 5 for number? Yeah. Yeah.
The parentheses is a string that
So you're saying on line 2, this is a string, and we're doing +5. So it's gonna join the 2, right? And then one side is a string, one side is a number. JavaScript, it sees that you're trying to add 2 different things, a string and a number, and it's gonna automatically convert the number to a string, and it's gonna join them together. That's correct, and that's why we see cat5. Because, well, string, what's string? String is cat here. Cat5. Yeah. What part? Cat5 should be duck5. So at the time line 2 ran, right? So actually, maybe that hasn't been figured out. JavaScript runs top to bottom. So this line is going to happen first. After that, this line. After that, this line. So we could say this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, 4, and 5. So when we do on line 2, number is equal to string plus 5, it's as if we were doing something like this. Cat, because that is what string has, plus 5. And then ultimately, that's going to return on cat5, right? Right after that, we say, okay, string now from cat, change to dog, and that's it. And then on console log string, line 6, we see dog because that is the last value that string has, right? Now on console log on line 7, console log number, and then what is number? Number is the result of this, which is cat5. Is that a little bit more clear? Okay. Let's
So
see.
to summarize it, when you declare the constant variable, right, and you assign the value to it, in this case, it's a string plus 5, which is cat5, right? So once you declare the constant variable, it does not change it. So that's basically the way you put it. That's why it's called constant. It stays that way for like however long you put it.
And yeah, this is going to start to make sense as we practice it. And at some point, variables are at the core of what we do. So it will become almost second nature creating variables. Okay, so we saw how we do const. What happens when I don't initialize const, like in this case? What happens when I do this? Error. What does the error say? Or in general, what is it complaining about? Peter? Yeah, it kind of says you have to define number. Okay. So tell me, what would be a good use for const? Like, can we think about maybe some real example? Your social security number, right? That's not going to change. So also never put your social security number in code. This is not my security number, by the way. Right. What's something else that's never going to change, Karen? Pi, right, that is a good example. Yes, pi is a constant, right? It doesn't matter. It's never going to change. Interest rates or tax. Okay, Stephanie. Your date of birth, right? That's never going to change. You said you had none? Oh. Okay, what about variables with flag, declared with flag? What are some real world examples for that? Today, the day, right? Tomorrow is another day. Joanne, age increases as days go by. Right, so I think we had a pretty good idea. Oh, also, this is wrong. Oh, actually, no, this is, what's this? It's not my social security number in JavaScript. Like if I do, right.
It's actually 130. That's why you do minus 79 minus.
Right. So if you wanted to put your security number, maybe you want to have it in a string because that's not going to be actually going to show the literal. Okay. So we saw undefined. We saw how we can declare variables. Let's see. Let's do an example where we did before. We did something like result is equal 1 plus 1. How could we actually, let's do something like this. Num or A plus B. How could I have this result be equal to 2? Knowing what you know about variables. Jonathan? Okay. And what is, let's remove this. Right, let's try that. Node const.js. Cool. Why does it work? Somebody else? Maybe let's go with Brianni. Okay, that's correct. Yes, I gave A about the value 1, and I gave B the value 1, and then JavaScript comes here and it says, okay, you want me to add A plus B, but I have to go and see what A is and what B is, and then this kind of leads me to the point that by declaring a variable, I change something in my program, or rather, I ask my program to save somewhere in its memory the value 1 and associate that with the name A or the name B. So that's something, it's something that we refer to as the state of our program, or even in a little bit more technical term, the execution context. So by declaring a variable A and B, we change the state of our program. Now our program has a sense of what A is and a sense of what B is. And then when our program arrives to line 4, it just has to look those up. And it looks them up, and then A is 1, B is 1. Cool, so we saw that works. So I can have as many variables as I can possibly imagine. I could just keep going. Well, eventually my computer is gonna run out of memory because, well, memory is a limited resource, and we very rarely see that nowadays because you just have so much memory that you will need to create a really large amount of variables to be able to do that. Okay, so let's see what else can we do. Okay, so we see that in this case, let's learn a way in which we can update a variable. So we saw that I could just say something like A equal to 100. And what is this going to give me now? Right. It added. Wait, what? Oh, right. A 100 plus 1. In this case, let's say I want to increase, I want to change A to be whatever A is currently at plus 2. How could I do that? I want A to be equal to 3. But I don't want to just type A equal to 3 here. I want to kind of add what I had before plus something else. Rene? A plus 2. Let's see. Let's console log A here. Right, and so that I remember that this is A, I'm just gonna do it like this. A equal plus A. This is so that when I see it in the console, I can say A is equal to 3. Right? Does this make sense so far? Okay. So I said, okay, I can use A to kind of ask what the previous value was and use it to reassign A to be equal to the previous value plus something new. How does that feel? That you can say A equal A plus 2, and then in here JavaScript is asking, okay, what's the current value of A? Since that is 1, it adds 2 to it, and it's going to add the 3 to that. Okay, so it turns out that there is a faster way of doing this, what we just do. If we do A plus equal 2, that's still gonna give us, it's still gonna give us the same. So I'm gonna just put this line here so that we can see the before and after. And I'm gonna remove result because we're not currently using it. Let me just remove all this. So let's see what happens here. So what can we say about this line 6 on line 4? Like, I guess first what's going on here? Who can tell me what's going on? Michael? Reassigning. Mm-hmm. Could you elaborate on that?
So the declare the fourth line, you reassign the value.
Okay. I reassigned it.
Yes. You print that value in the next line.
And then I do what?
And you print that value.
Okay.
Line 5. And you reassign it one more time to line 6.
Reassign. Oh. Is that spelled correctly?
Yeah.
And I'm reassigning to what here?
5.
To 5, which is right. Any questions about this? This is something called Syntactic Sugar. It's those little sprinkles of sweetness that the creators of JavaScript gave us so that we save ourselves typing A twice, for instance. JR? A++. Oh, that's a good one. Let's try that one. Wait, but before we go on to that, do we have this clear here? That basically, or technically, line 4, and line 5 are doing the same thing. Okay, so let's try what happens if I do, right, so this one, we saw that it's adding. We could also subtract. So let's try this one before. So on line 4, we add 2. On line 6, we subtract 2. What are we going to see on the console? 3 and 1. Why? Right, so what this will be equal here? That will be 3 minus 2, right? Equal to 1. Does this make sense? Okay, so we saw that we could use the plus or the minus here. And also, okay, before we move on to an exercise, let's do the one that JR pointed out, which is A++. Let's do something like A++. Also, let's see what this gives us. And now let's do something like copy this line to see it kind of all the way. So here we displayed the value before it changes. Now, I forgot to save again. Right, so what do we know that A++ is adding one value, right? And it knows, well, it will add only one value. I cannot keep saying plus if I want 2 values. Well, actually, let's try it. Oh, unexpected token plus. And you see, it actually highlights that is after the 2 that I already had. Right, so it knows two pluses are allowed. More than that is forbidden. And then we learned that if we want to add more than 1, we could use the plus equal here. Right, Malik? That's correct. We could do A minus as well. Now, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to, with one of your peers, explore the other operators in this format and console log. What are the other math operators? Division, multiplication, etc. So have 5 minutes to write 4 variables. One is going to be sum. Another one, subtract. Another one, multiplication. And initialize them to any value that you want. And then use this syntax plus equal like syntax to change the values of sum, sub, mul, and division. So take 5 minutes to do that with somebody. I'm starting now. Yeah, try all the math operators. Do it.
Trying to figure out what my throwing error.
What does the error say?
Those kinds of. This one is good.
Who needs more time? Okay, let's do 2 more minutes. Right. So, like, but the data, if you want to have an application that tells us what day it is,
So with
then you would say that.
that's the word.
So like, okay.
Some of that.
Because, okay. So, so do that. We'll always change. I know there's no C, but it's added. Yeah. So they would leave as. Yeah, and then what?
Sounds like the whole bar.
Okay. Who wants to share some of the things they came up with? Cameron?
There's some.
Okay.
So for some I created variables that added two numbers. And those two numbers were also variables.
Okay, so what should I type here?
We'll delete and just put number one plus number two. But we gotta create that variable. So
I have to create those?
go and hit but do that go up to 10. Up to 5. And then put number two to 1.
Here I cannot use spaces, but does everyone knows that? We cannot use spaces in our variable names. Just in our variable names. So, oh. So you can use Camel Case, yeah. Just a refresher on that. Once you did your the JavaScript workshop, these are some examples of variable names. Variable 1, Camel Case, variable 2. Who knows what Camel Case is? Okay. Why haven't the people who don't know asked? Why haven't the people who don't know what Camel Case is asked? Right. So Camel Case is when you do the first letter, lowercase, the first letter of the first word, lowercase, the second letter, the first letter of the second word, capital. So it looks like it will look like a camel in the sense that this is kind of one of the, what do you call it? I don't know. Yeah. So this will be a hum from camel, and then L will be the other hum. And you could have a camel with 10 hums. No, an infinite number, but you wouldn't have a variable that long. If you have a variable that with a name that long, you should reconsider what you are assigning to that variable. So I'm gonna link this into the lesson, and also I think we have something where we see some illegal names. This very bad variable names. A variable name cannot start with a number. It can have a number, but as long as it's not starting. For instance, we can see here. Right, num1 is a number, but it's after. So it cannot have space or exclamation point, you kind of have dashes. Why not? That's a good question. The exclamation point, that's because as we learned, we use the exclamation point for the not in Boolean logic. The space, that is a good question. I will say it's because that will try to create two variables, or JavaScript doesn't know if it should create two or one. And it just doesn't want to just do that by luck. It just doesn't allow it at all. What else? Right, so then here we have some better variable names. Hi, hello everyone. List of all unique names, or your list of prime numbers. Cool. So that's so that we have variable names a little bit more clear. Okay, so Peter, you were telling me about what you were doing here for some.
Right. So I want to
Here?
firstly, what if number one is?
Say that again.
I want to highlight four, so it's kind of possible.
Oh, I see. You did something like num1 equal.
One is equal to.
Okay. Something like this, and then.
Equals. That's doing the same. Set not plus.
What are we doing inside this parentheses again? What is this called? Say that a little bit louder. Right, we're concatenating the strings num1 equal space with the value of num1, which is 10, and the string num2 equal space with the value of num2, sorry. Now let's try to remove something. So I'm just gonna remove all this because if not, then we're here. Node const.js. Right, so num1 is 10, num2 is 5. Maybe I need a space here. Okay. Cool. So who can tell me? Actually, but this is not correct in the sense that we're not using the syntactic sugar plus equal, right? How could we? This was basically not what I asked for, in the sense that we were gonna use the shorthand for adding to a variable, which was plus equal. So in this case, it will be something like we could do, say, num1 plus equal num2. And let's see what num1 is here. So let's see this. What do we see? Right, we're using the shorthand plus equal to add to num1 num2. Does that make sense? Okay. Who can tell me an expression with the multiplication shorthand? Michael? Okay, I guess let's try just change this to times equal and let's see what it gives us. What's happening here? Sandra, you tell me. Say that a little bit louder. Okay, multiply what by? That's correct, right? In that case, 10 times 5, right? You multiply what num was beforehand, which was 10, times 5, and it saved the result on num1. That's why we see num1 equal 50. Does that make sense? Peter?
So when you do asterisk equal, are changing the value.
That is a good comment. Yes, you are, when you do this, you are changing the value of num1. Num1, after this point, becomes 50. All right, let's try now with division. Right? And this is something that I haven't tried, but let's say this. Modulo, it gives us 0. 0. I don't really, let's see why. So num1 is 10. And it's gonna do, yeah, that makes sense because num1 is 10, and then it's gonna do remainder 5. And if we do the remainder of dividing 10 into 5 is 0, right? So that makes sense. Cool. Okay, so the last point that I want to make before we move on to doing the lab is we are assigning the number 10, and it's something that we already saw. I just want to add some language to that. Is we saw that in here we're saving number 10 to num1, but we also saw that we could save the result of an expression like this, right? In this case, this is an expression, and we save, JavaScript is going to evaluate the result of that and save it to the variable called num1. So in JavaScript, we have expressions and statements. And the statement, we could say line 1 is a statement. We're making the statement of saving the value of the expression 10 plus 10 to num1. So oftentimes, statements are made up of expressions, or in this case, for instance, we don't have, we could say that this is just a statement. And because we don't have an expression on the right-hand side of the equal, we could just say that the 5 is a number literal, right? It's literally the number 5. It's not, JavaScript here doesn't have to evaluate anything. Let's do,
1 second. So
yeah.
you said that saving number 10.
Mm-hmm. So the right-hand side in this case is an expression, right? An expression is anything JavaScript has to evaluate to get to one value. So here, JavaScript is going to evaluate 10 plus 10. The expression 10 plus 10, it comes out as 20, and it's going to save the value as 20. Num1 will be 20. Camille? So can you save other data types?
Okay, 3. I know
So-
3 is less than 10, but I
Uh-huh.
wanted to make a way so that even though it's incorrect, like
I think what you mean is something like this. So in here, right, so we could say that this is a false expression, right? This expression is going to evaluate to false because 10 is not greater than 10. 10 is equal to 10, right? So we should see that when I do console log bool, we see false. And again, this is a Boolean, right? So I don't know if that answers your question, Camille.
So say I'm a short program and I wanted to choose the make the choice which is false.
Okay.
So I don't want them to answer out of the say four answer. I don't want them to choose the one that is right. Like 3 plus 3 is 6, 5 plus 5 is 10, 7 plus 7 is 13, and 6 is 12. I want them to choose one. Would like that come about? Like,
I think I still don't understand.
okay,
Oh,
don't worry
but
about it. I'll figure a way.
cool. Yeah, we could talk after. Cool. So the thing I want you to remember is that to variables you could save the result of expressions. And then I want us to go to some official definitions, which we have here, I think. Actually, don't. So right. So JavaScript distinguishes between expressions and statements. An expression produces a value and can be written whatever a value is expected. For example, as an argument in a function call. We haven't seen this, but we can see that this is an expression, right? It's going to evaluate to something. Now, a statement, the difference between statement and expression become clearer as we see if we look at members of two syntactic categories. Okay, this is kind of going on what we're going to be seeing this week, which is we're going to have something like as an if statement, but we're going to get to that. So far, I guess the thing that I do want you to remember is that there are different types of statements that we're going to get to. But for now, let's just focus on the fact that this is a variable declaration and assignment. That is a statement. We're making a statement with this line saying, okay, declare the variable, evaluate the value of the expression, save the value to the variable. And then we saw that we can assign the variable of their value, which is the result of an expression. So as long as you remember, an expression is something that JavaScript will evaluate to a single value, and that can be saved to a variable. That's the only point that we have to remember for now. Okay, so for the lab, I want us to start working on it now. So go to your Google Calendar or Canvas calendar and find the variables lab. So for the variables lab, we're going to do the same thing that we did for the value types and operators lab, where we clone the repo, we answer the questions, and we create a pull request. So let's do this. Okay, so it's 7 questions. Let's do these in pairs as well. So me and JR are going to be floating around. If you have any questions, read the assignment, and if you have any questions, any comments, come talk to us. Clone this repo. Right, fork it first, and then clone it. That's a good question. You have, well, so you all have to turn in the assignment. The assignment is due today at midnight. So far, we have an announcement to make at 5:50.
Okay.
So just be here at 5:50.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you.